Hey guys, Chris Bishop here. Super excited to be with you today talking about business planning. I want to give a shout out to Brandon and Todd for the first two sessions. Really enjoyed Brandon's session talking about the goals, the why behind what you're doing, and the reason you're going to put yourself through all the things that Todd and I are going to talk about. Really enjoyed Todd's session talking about breaking down the numbers and exactly knowing how many contacts you need to make in a given day. And he kind of left the question on purpose. How do you get to those contacts? How do you build a good, stable business that will last not only now, not only in 2021, but in multiple real estate markets, depending on the market going up or down, but making sure that you have a business that you can rely on. So today, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how to build that business. Now, understand, what I'm about to share with you is based on my interpretation of many different coaches, the way that I've built my business personally, and just an idea. It's an idea for you to build a business plan that really can provide you with a lot of value. So if you'll see up here on the board, I built my own Chris pyramid, and you're going to notice in the center of that pyramid I put SOI. That stands for Sphere of Influence. The one thing I notice about many real estate agents in our business is they don't have any client base. They have friends, they have neighbors, they have acquaintances, but they don't really have a base of people that they're going to build from, that they're going to start with, and that they're going to cultivate over their years of experience while they're doing the business. And so if you are doing things right, you should have a sphere of influence or a center of influence, or maybe it's your Raving 100 or it's your client group that you really are relying on to invest in you. This is the group of people that you're going to send gift cards to, you're going to send Christmas cards or holiday cards, you're going to send birthday cards. You're going to care about their kids and their families and their real estate assets, but the whole idea is this is the group of people that you're going to spend your time, the contacts that Todd talked about, you're going to spend your time building a relationship with them. And so what I notice many times is agents don't really understand, where do I go to get these people? Where do I go to meet them if I don't have them right now? And so granted, every one of us, most days, usually always carries a cell phone, right? We have that cell phone, it's our lifeline, first thing we see when we get up, the last thing we see when we go to bed. And in that cell phone, you have contacts. Now, I understand that these people may not be the people you want to reach out to, but don't worry. You're in a sales business, so it does require at some point, you call someone up and sell them something. So I would start with who you know. The people in your household, for instance, those are the kids that depend on you, your spouse, your friends and family, the kids' friends that come over and visit. And then I would go from the home outside into your neighborhood. We all have that one neighbor in the neighborhood that we wave to when we leave. What if we actually got to know them? What if we asked them their name? What if we asked them about their real estate needs? What if we told the world that we were real estate agents? Imagine what that world would be like. But the whole idea is that I'm going to start with a base, and usually from every agent that I've coached as a brand new agent, they have at least 50 to 100 people. So I'm just going to go ahead and write 50 people. So I'm hoping that because of your cell phone, because of your neighbors, because of your parents, your kids, your siblings, your friends, your aunts, your relatives, your uncle, that you can at least come up with 50 individual. And it's important when I say individual. I understand that if it's two spouses, I would separate them because we all leave home, usually, if you don't work with your family like I do, we all leave home and we go to a different place for work. And what I need to do is I need to build a relationship with each one of them individually so that when they're at their office and someone says real estate, they think of me. So when they're at their church or they're at their social group and someone says real estate, they think of me. And if I only talk to the husband or only talk to the wife or only talk to the kid, how is it that I can train someone to think of me? So keep that in mind, but I would at least start off with your 50. So the question is, other than the 50, other than my SOI, what are ways that I could engage and build new sources of business? So I took the liberty of writing out 31 here and 25 over here, so 56 different ways that you can meet people and create business. So I'm going to take a few minutes and I'm going to go through each one of these. I'm going to give you kind of an idea of what they're all about and how they work for you. So number one, we already talked about sphere of influence. We're going to get into that more in depth as we are on the video. Next after that is past clients. So it stands to reason that if you're brand new to real estate and you have your transaction and a friend of yours that's going to buy or sell a house, that you could generate at least one or two past clients your first year in the business. I'm sure you would agree. But the important thing about past clients is I need to tell everyone that somebody physically trusted me to help them sell their most precious asset. I need to proclaim from the mountaintop that someone said, yes, we will let you sell our home. That's why these people are so important. They're the reviews that are going to be on my website. They're the reviews that people are going to see on Zillow. And they're going to be my oracles. They're going to be out there telling everyone about Chris and making it come together. Next on this list, I put withdrawn unconditional. Not withdrawn conditional, we can't market those, but we definitely should be tracking every neighborhood that we do business in, looking for withdrawn listings. When a home gets listed in my neighborhood, I know immediately if it's seller occupied because they tell us on the status. They say this property is on the market for this price, and if you want to show it, you got to call the seller. If I'm marketing a neighborhood to become the neighborhood expert, I already have information that other people don't have. Websites right now are trying to sell you a seller's contact info, and all you had to do was pay attention to the MLS. So I check that listing when it's available, and I see that it has the seller's name, Betty, and I wouldn't have known her name as Betty because it says Bertha on the tax record, right? And I know it says Betty, and I also know Betty's best phone number because the agent got it to make sure that when they showed the unit, that was the right person to call. So I just print out that sheet and I hold on to it. And I already know because I'm tracking it that that home, when that agent listed it, was $75,000 over market, and it's most likely going to be a withdrawn listing. I'm just saying, don't go calling them now, don't go talking to them now, because they're under contract. We're never going to intrude in another agent's agency, but we are going to take really good notes, as Janet would say. So now I know this listing went unconditionally withdrawn. It's free game. And if I have this archive of information, I now have the ability to reach out to the seller and say, hey, I noticed your listing was on the market. I think I can help you get it sold. Great source of business. Next we have on the list expireds. Why does everyone like expireds? Because they've already said, I want to sell my home. It's literally walking into a room and asking for sellers to tell us which one of you wants to sell your home. And so the nice thing is when it expires, it's usually expired because they're upset. I read an article that said the reason why most people fire their real estate agent is from poor communication. The downside of expireds is it requires a ton of communication on your part to get them involved. Right now, they think you're just another real estate agent that wants nothing more than to make some commission. And so the whole goal with expired should be consistency in reaching out to them on a regular basis until the home gets listed. And it will get listed by the person that works hardest to get it. We know that to be true. And the person that gets it first. One of the things I think is interesting about expireds in our MLS is they usually track the day the listing's going to expire. So if you get a little bit proactive and you're tracking that information, you should be able to hit it the second it happens. Next on the list is Fsbos. Interesting to me in this market still, because things are easy, because homes sell right away, people like to use themselves to sell a home. But we still know that they're leaving money on the table. We still know that this is a hot market where they're going to have multiple offers, and the realtor is the best person to help them through that. Usually all it takes with Fsbos is you. You getting up and knocking on the door, not trying to do it by mail, not trying to do it by Facebook, not trying to do it by 100 different phone numbers that aren't theirs, but getting out of your car, knocking on the door and saying, I'm Chris, I'm here to help you sell your home. Just listed, just sold are a great way to talk about business around business, and we're going to get to that in a minute. But physical phone calls, even if they're not your listing, even if it's not your sale, it's just you picking up the phone and letting the neighborhood know, hey, it's Chris. This home was listed down the street at $300,000. We know when one home lists, 2 more sell right away. Who do you know that wants to move into your neighborhood? Great ways to make cold calls. Next up is farms. A lot of times when people market farms, the whole goal behind it was, I'm going to take a base of people where I know where they live, I know when they bought their home, and I know when they moved in the neighborhood, and I'm going to get in front of them for a repetitive basis over a series of time until I convert to market share. And the idea behind that is you don't want to pick a farm that everyone else is farming. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of subdivisions in southern Nevada, and the easiest thing to do is to go in and look at that subdivision and find out who's competing against me. If I go into Anthem Country Club and I see that 70 agents are farming Anthem because they live in there, why would I compete my marketing dollars against all of them? Why not go down the street a few blocks to a subdivision that's in the same area? It has similar pricing, but not similar amenities, but there's no one marketing the area. It sounds like way more effective in my business plan. Next we have on here yard signs. I remember years ago that yard signs were the best source of business because when someone picks up the phone to call you, you're usually the only one that can screw it up, right? And so the good news is signs still work when you put them out on your listings. Text systems still work when you put writers on your sign, but it's a way for you to get advanced info on that buyer that's out in the marketplace. Of course, we have door knocking. I hope I don't need to explain that one. We have cold calling. We have open houses, which you're allowed to do now, thank goodness. And we have high impact open houses. The difference between an open house and a high impact open house is intention. When I do an open house, I just throw up some signs, I just run over to any property. There's no real thought behind it. It's just me getting out there so I can meet some consumers. When I do a high impact open house, I'm really going to structure the entire process so that I get as many people in the neighborhood by door knocking, cold calling, mailing, by strategically placing my signs, by marketing multiple days for the open house to get more interest and more people. That's why they call it high impact, because it causes more people to see it. Short sales and REOs. Remember when those were important in our lives? Well, when markets crash, when things change, when they don't crash, it's still surprising that it makes up a share of the business in the marketplace. Right now, short sales make up 3 to 4% of our market. REOs make up 3 to 4% of our market. And when you sell 40,000 homes a year here in Southern Nevada, 3% are really good numbers, but not a lot of people are paying attention to it right now. Not a lot of people are calling the banks and the asset management companies and saying, hey, I'm available, I'd love to find out what I need to do to get into your program. Again, it's another way to make business happen. We have expired mailings, which everyone likes to do. You sit at your office, you write some notes to those expired listings, and you hope that they read their mail, but still it is a business generator. Drip campaigns, thank you cards, which I love. If you're not sending out thank you cards when you talk and meet to the people in your database, you're missing out on some good residual business. We have print advertising, where agents' egos go to play. Right? If you've ever picked up a Homes Illustrated, you look into the Homes Illustrated and it's all full of real estate agents, and you take that same Homes Illustrated and you wait 4 more months, it's surprising how that all changes. Very little consistency in print marketing, and that's why it doesn't work for most agents, because they don't do it long enough to get the results. Property previewing. I really believe to be the expert in the marketplace, to really understand the product, you got to preview it. Now, I understand right now during a pandemic it's hard to get into homes, but let's imagine this. Let's imagine there's a seller that's in a property and they've had no showings. Even in this hot market, they've had no showings. And miraculously, an agent calls them up to show the home, and it's you. And you say, hey, listen, my name is Chris. I'm an expert in this market area, and I want to see every single listing so that when my buyers want to see property, I know exactly what the home looks like. I know exactly what the light feels like when it shines through the windows. And you go over and you preview that home. Have you already done more than their agent has? Have you already been more present than their agent has? And when that home goes to expire because it was overpriced and it didn't sell, may you be considered as the agent they call? I don't know, but it's a good idea. Investors, bulk business, folks. This is the Costco product of real estate. Every single person out there wants to be an investor and a real estate mogul, but the question is, are you in front of them? Do you understand how to work with them? Have you ever been through the process? Other side from investors are tenants. One of the great things about our MLS system is it actually tracks when leases expire. And you can actually door knock tenants to say, hey, knock, 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 have you ever thought of buying a home? Have you ever thought of stopping to pay someone else's mortgage and put this money in your own pocket? I'd love to help you do so. I see that your lease is coming up in about 2 months. Is that still correct? I'd love to work with you and help you find the right home for you and your family. Nice thing about working with tenants is when you know the tenant's going to move out and buy a home because you're helping them, you can then kind of cold call that owner if there's no agent involved and say, hey, listen, I represent your tenant. They may want to buy your property or they may want to buy another property, but now that they're moving out, now that we're notifying you of that, have you thought of selling the investment property? Another great idea. Absentee owners. Unfortunately for me, I'm from Las Vegas. So it's hard for me to mail people, back east in my hometown because I'm from here. But imagine if you're not. Imagine if you're from Detroit, Michigan, and you go into the tax record and you pull up everyone in Las Vegas that owns a property that has a home address in Detroit. And you say, hey, I'm Chris. I'm actually from Detroit. I'm a real estate expert here in Las Vegas. I noticed that you own a property here, and I'm just reaching out to see, have you thought of selling the property? Do you need any help? Is there anyone advising you what's going on in the marketplace? And do you have any other friends from Detroit that want to come out here to Las Vegas and buy property? Better yet, you're going back to Detroit to visit your parents, and you actually go and door knock that owner in Detroit. You actually knock on the door and say, hey, I'm Chris Bishop from Las Vegas. I'm a real estate agent there. I pulled up your information. I see that you own a property in Las Vegas. I just wanted to put your face to my face and let you know I'm here to help you with your real estate needs. Would love to give you any information you like. Guys, it's another way to really farm and make business happen. Garage sales. Why do people have garage sales? Because they're getting rid of all of their stuff in preparation of selling their home. And so don't stop at the garage sale anymore for the knickknacks. Stop at the garage sale to introduce yourself to the owner and say, have you gotten an agent yet to help you sell this property? Mini storage units work the same way. When I'm going to declutter my home to sell it, I go to a mini storage facility. That mini storage facility usually says, are you selling, are you moving, what's your address? And they're usually telling them these things. If you make really good friends with those mini storage owners, the ones that are there at the front desk, the reps, might be a great way to get some business. I always love marketing agents in other states because a lot of the time they don't have a referral source here in Las Vegas. And so I can literally Google top agents throughout the nation, make relationships with them, and use them to generate business for my actual contacts. Again, we have civic groups, business groups, small business owners. All of these are resources, folks. These are people that are literally looking for other businesses to work with to create more product, to create more sales. And if you're able to take those groups and market to them, you're able to gain some market share or some visibility, just like we're going to work your SOI. Phone books. I haven't seen a phone book in a few years, but they are still out there. And the one thing phone books have is they have the name, they have the address, and they have the phone number for the person who lives there. It's just like your Zillow lead. The only difference between the phone book and the Zillow lead is they raised their hand and said maybe, right? But they're the same quality, right? You call those Zillow leads and it's not so great, but you call someone in the phone book, it works the same way. The other thing I like about phone books is on the other side, they have the yellow pages. They have page after page after page of businesses in our marketplace. And the nice thing about businesses, they employ employees. They employ people who want to work and live closer to their job. And so if you're making friends with those businesses, it's just another good farming source that you can work. I also have on here business card Blitz. Once upon a time, we used to have competitions to see how many business cards we could hand out in a given day to get it out in the public. Now, the only downside about business cards is when I give you a card, you have all of my information, and I'm praying that you're going to give me a call. But when I give something like that, I need to receive. I need to get your information from them, because if you don't get their info, you can't really control the outcome. So make sure that when you're giving someone your business card, you're at least getting their information, but it's another good source of generating business. Name badges. I know I sound old school. I mean, I don't have a name badge on, but I do know agents very successfully that have taken name badges to a new level. They turn them upside down so that as you walk through the grocery store, as you walk through the car wash, everyone says, "Hey, Chris, is that your name, Chris? You're a realtor? Your name badge is upside down." Oh, no kidding. Thank you so much for telling me. Have you thought about buying a home? I am a realtor after all. Great idea, right? They do work when you use them. Car signs, same thing. If you're trying to become the market expert, if you're trying to show the people where you live, don't be a secret agent. If you're going to proclaim to the world that you're willing to put on your car that you're a realtor, at least you're standing out. At least the happenstance of the fact that somebody's driving down the road and they're thinking, wow, I got to really sell this house, and they look over and there's your face and your phone number, it may work out in your benefit. We all have heard the stories of people who do it. Agents getting out of the business. We've all heard the statistic, 50% of the people that get into it each year get out of it, but not after trying. Not after building client relationships, not after at least trying to do our business in some way. And then we have agents that are retiring out of the business. We have people that have amazing businesses with great databases, and usually what happens, surprisingly to me, is they shut down their business and they just move away. It would stand to reason if I spend a lot of time building a great database, if I can give you the numbers, if I can show you that it works and the people that are in it buy homes, it would stand to reason then that I could then sell you or merge my business with yours to give me some referral income and to give you another resource to hit your business goals. Guys, agents getting out of the business is an amazing resource, and some of my best clients have been realtors. Marketing to other clients, and what I mean by this is the other client in the deal. Now, you cannot call someone else's client during the transaction, but once the transaction is closed, what I know to be true is most agents never call the client again. They sell them a house, they're together with them in a relationship for 30 days, they talk every day on the phone, they're Facebook friends, they're meeting for lunch, they're there all the time tied to the hip, and then once the deal closes, most agents just drop the client because they don't work a database. And so imagine if you're the agent on the other side, and you send a happy anniversary card a month after they moved into the home and say, hey, congratulations again on your home purchase. I hope you're loving the home. If you need any information about the sale, please let me know. I didn't ask him for anything, I just offered help and support. Imagine if I did that card 6 months later. Hey, it's been 6 months, now we'll know once you moved in all the things that are working in the home and if it's all going well. If it's not, give me a call, I'm happy to help you. 1 year later, you guys didn't know, but they've decided to relocate because they have to for a job. The other agent hasn't communicated to them, but you sent another card 1 year later to say, happy anniversary. Hope you're loving the home. Do you know how much it's worth now? Would love to meet with you and help you. These are great business resources. Home builders, they're in the business of building homes. And so many times home builders are looking for real estate agents that they can work with because they have a sales agent on staff usually, but what about small builders? What about builders that are not big enough to house staff? And they need people just like you that could help them market their product. I've gotten into builders where I've said, listen, I understand that you have sales agents. Could I hold some open houses in your product to generate more people that I can meet? When you do enough of those open houses and the builder starts to take notice of the fact that you're working really hard to sell their homes, it's amazing that they're willing to refer you things. They're willing to refer you the buyers that come into the sales center that they can't help. They're willing to refer you a listing to help you generate more buyers for their product. Now, they may not be willing to pay you a lot on it, but we all know that when you take a listing, if you're really working that listing really well, it's another great way to generate business. This one is probably the worst one on my list because it's the hardest. I put on the 100 contact challenge. Can you imagine that if you went to the office at 8 o'clock and the goal before you could go home was to contact 100 people and ask them if they're looking to buy or sell real estate? It would be physically impossible in our business, and I've never been proven wrong. If you call 100 people and ask them about real estate, it's physically impossible for you not to get a transaction out of it. But it sounds like a lot of work, and it usually takes 8 to 9 hours to make it happen. But again, it's a great way to make contacts and meet people. The next section I have is buyer, seller, and investor seminars. We used to do this all the time, folks, when things weren't so easily accessible through video and Facebook and everything else. And the question is, why aren't we doing it again? It's so easy for me to get up here today and explain to you business planning. You as an agent could do the same thing for buyers, sellers, and investors on how to get into the marketplace, how to buy a home, how to invest in real estate. And even if you needed to, you could pre-record it, edit it, and make yourself feel great about it. There's a lot of things they can do with video nowadays to make me look good. Hopefully Beta's doing it. But the whole point is you have the opportunity to take your message directly to consumers. If you only got 2, 3, 5, maybe 10 people that would show up, that's still a massive amount of those contacts that Todd was talking about that could lead to your business goals. Next, I have NODs, notice of defaults. We still have short sales where people are not making their payments, and so the first thing that happens is when they stop making the payments, the bank starts to notify them. And the first notice is that you've defaulted on your loan payments. You better rectify it or we're going to take it to the next level. These are people that have to make a decision. They have to get some help and support from a real estate agent just like you, and they're actually public. They're public knowledge. When the bank files these things, they have to be. And so from your title company, you can get notice of defaults and notice of foreclosures to allow you to go out and market to that person. Next on here, I put relocation and HR directors. There are major relocation companies that major businesses use to relocate high net worth employees or employees that they're moving to new markets. And HR directors are usually the people contacting those relocation directors. And the funny thing is, most of our clients work for somebody. So if we were to engage our clients to say, hey, listen, I'd love to meet your HR director and provide them with some info about me, just another way to generate business on a high level. I put free and clear campaign, and what that's all about is that surprisingly over the last 10 years, many of the homes sold in Las Vegas were sold cash, meaning that that homeowner actually paid cash for it at very low sales prices because they were buying them back when it was $200,000, $180,000, those condos for $30,000, and they've all gone up. And so now I'm able to actually go to my title company and say, hey, listen, within 89084, I want you to send me every property that's owned free and clear. I just did that about a month ago for that same zip code. 10,000 homes. 10,000 homes are owned free and clear in that area. Imagine if I were to get in front of them, if I were to door knock them and convince them to sell their home. That's a lot of money to be utilized in the marketplace, and I like clients that have a lot of money. Online lead systems. So I put it on here because people do buy leads. People do buy leads because it's easy and simple, but what's hard about it is following up. But the whole thing is that you can go out and do it. We would prefer that before you do it, you have a conversation with one of the brokers to show you best practices. But if you're going to buy leads, you better have a system in place to follow up on them. You better have a system in place on how to market to these people so that you get the value from purchasing them. And it's a high expense cost. So before you go spending that type of money, you definitely want to make sure you have some systems in place. I did put on here mail and direct mail campaigns because they do work. The downside of about mail campaigns is they only have about a 4% open rate, so you got to saturate the people that you're mailing to really get them to take notice. I know that I have many times received those cards or those flyers on my door or those different marketing pieces, and every once in a while, that's how I picked the vendor I worked with. I at least called them and gave them a chance to interview for my business, but it does work. Every agent's favorite service is websites, that they create. I notice a lot of agents that spend a lot of time on their website. Hasn't gone to anybody yet. They don't have any marketing dollars yet to bring people to it, but they create this great website. And I think the whole idea is it's just another business tool, but I've got to get it out in front of people. Just like YouTube, right? I could go on and create a massive video series, and all it would take is my time. A video recorder, a good editing system, and my time, and I could create an amazing video series that would get a lot of views. The question is, if I got those views, what are my call to actions? What are my next steps? How do I turn it into business? That's another business source that you can work on. Facebook ads, I don't need to explain those, but people are doing them. I've done a series of them this year that generate a lot of high clicks, a lot of people that contacted us. Lead quality was very, very low, but still, it's people that are engaging us that I can utilize to turn into clients in my database. Yelp, reviews, and Zillow. So Yelp is a system that allows people to go and review things. Believe it or not, real estate agents, real estate companies are on Yelp. And the question is, are you? And if you are, what are people saying about you? What are you doing to engage your people in your database to go and talk about you on it? And what would your business look like if you made that a priority? If you made your Yelp reviews, your website reviews, your Zillow reviews, if you really added them in, right? Another thing on here is Google. Google ads do work. They have a whole team dedicated to it. They want your money as much as any other vendor. But the nice thing is, what are the first steps that buyers and sellers usually do when they're thinking of selling their home? Folks, they're going to Google and they're typing in, thinking of selling my home. They're typing in top real estate agent in Las Vegas. They're typing in, what do I need to do to sell my home? I mean, these are things that you can pay to get in front of, but understand these are high cost items that are going to require that you have good systems in place, because unfortunately, if you can't follow up on those leads, if you can't convert those leads, it's not going to do you any good. I put attorneys. Yes, I do like attorneys when it comes to real estate because they deal in probates and divorces, death and separation. Unfortunately, these things do happen, and when they happen, people usually have to sell the home. Unfortunately, when people get divorced, usually that house is the asset that they've acquired, and these attorneys are the ones that are actually referring them to real estate agents. Some of my best clients have come from attorneys that I've made friends with throughout my real estate career, and I was able to get in front of them and work a consistent referral basis. And what they like is they like people that understand their process. They like people that understand the courts process. And again, it's a specialty system that I can get involved in to do business from. International leads. People never think about people that live in other countries. We're just so fixated on the United States and we just want to get clients here that we forget Las Vegas is one of the #1 second home destinations in the world. People come here from all over the world every single year to enjoy what Las Vegas has to offer, and they want to stay and buy a property. The only thing it takes is me doing some research, becoming an expert in how an international buyer can buy here. There's actually a designation through NAR called the CIPS, Certified International Property Specialist, that shows that I'm an expert in helping investors from other countries just like you get a second home or an investment property here in the United States. And the other thing I can do, what about if I spoke another language? It's amazing to me that real estate agents here, we have so many people within our company that speak other languages, and I couldn't speak it, write it, or type it, but you could. If you could take that same information and then take it to your website and change your website to be in the language of that country, you're able then to market to somebody I can't market to. And if you're able to do it at a high level, if you're able to utilize it with your Google ads and your Facebook ads, and you're able to bring a following from it, you will have people that I can't get. And that, for me, my friends, is a niche. Great things happen in real estate when you have specialty niches that you can get involved in. And one of those that I put down here is special submarkets. When I first got in the business, I loved to golf. I actually golfed all the way through high school. I was on the golf team, believe it or not, yes. And I love to specialize in golf course properties because I lived in Red Rock. I lived at Red Rock Country Club and I really liked the area. I walked the course with Arnold Palmer the day it opened. He took a photo with me. We watched him play 6 holes. I knew the experience about what happened there, and I was able to take that and tell others of why I love the community. But again, it was a specialty that I got involved in, and I was able to sell people who also enjoyed the same specialty. People who get into 55 and older retired neighborhoods, where people, are a certain age group are the only ones that can live there. Doesn't mean they're the only ones that can buy, but it's definitely a niche market that I could work. High rises are my favorite. You have a habitat of about 900 people in most of these high rises that you can market to specifically about a product that you have knowledge on, and other agents aren't as familiar with it. They don't know how to show it. They don't know how to list it. I've never really done a blog in a big way, but I know a lot of people out there love to write. They're very good at writing, and so there are a lot of people that you can get through following of a blog. But you've got to have content, you got to have repetition, you got to do it on a consistent basis. I'm going to end this with newsletters. Believe it or not, people do read newsletters. They love to hear about you and your family. We have some agents with our company that do incredible virtual newsletters where they're sharing things that are going on with them and their clients. But community newsletters work. These are all great business ideas that you can use. And last but not least, market updates. Every single month you get the stats from Las Vegas Realtors that share with you what's going on in the local real estate market. It gives you the perfect opportunity to record a 10, 15-minute video if you want on the entire market, or maybe just quick 1 or 2 minutes on what's going on in their neighborhood. The whole idea is it's another way for you to build business and get in front of them that will lead you back to your business source. So I hope this was helpful. 56 different ways for you to get business. This is just the tip of the iceberg. I've got lists up to 200 different ways that you can generate leads, that you can generate contacts. But to Todd's point, you now know how many contacts you have to make, and you could use any one of these sources in order to get those contacts. Now I'm going to change your focus for just a second back to this other board. You're going to notice that I put SOI in the middle of my triangle because no matter what I'm doing, no matter what business sources I'm utilizing, everything must flow back into my SOI. Here's an example. If I start out with my 50 people and that's all I have, that's okay. But I can't run a massive real estate business off of 50 people. I need hundreds, if not thousands of people that I can work for business so that I don't have to keep working so hard. Folks, I've done all of these things at one time or another, and they're not easy. They're not fun. They're like working a real job. But if I get my database big enough, if I get enough people believing in me as their real estate agent, I won't have to do this anymore unless I want to, because I'll have a captive audience that are sending me leads on a regular basis. And so the whole point is that I believe that every real estate agent should have 3 key tiers to their business. I'm going to share with you my 3 tiers. Number 1, of course, is that database. Remember, everything flows there. The one on top is BAB, business around business. That's right, folks. Every listing I take, every buyer I sell a home to, I need to ensure that because of that transaction, I do a series of events around it to generate 1 more deal. That's how 12 transactions can turn into 6 or 12 more deals, because when that home closed in that neighborhood, people decided to sell their home. People decided to buy a different home. And so the question is, with these activities that I just outlined, how can I get business around business? Number 1, just listed, just sold calls, right? That's horrible writing. Just listed, just sold calls are a way for me to tell the neighborhood this listing hit the market, here's what it matters to you, and I'm selling within the message of what went on. Mailers are another great way to do that. I'm going to mail everyone in the neighborhood repetitively. A couple of years back, I received a phone call off one of my farms from a lady who said, "Are you Chris Bishop, the market expert for this neighborhood?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am, I am." And she says, "Well, this is crazy. I'm a real estate agent. There's no way you're going to sell any homes in this neighborhood. We got it locked up." And I said, "Really? That's surprising to hear. How long have you lived in the neighborhood?" She said, 10 years. Wow, 10 years. she started to ask me stats on the neighborhood because she was grilling me. And folks, let me tell you, I just luckily the day before happened to actually write down the neighborhood stats so I knew them. Lesson learned there, make sure that if you're the expert for an area in one of your farms that you actually write down the stats and you carry them with you, because this call will come. So she actually told me, she says, you know, there's no way you're going to get any business here because we've got it locked up and we live in the neighborhood. But what she didn't know is that the card she was receiving was just one of 10. One of 10 cards that I sent around the listing that I listed in the neighborhood. As soon as it went on the market, I sent 3 just listed cards out to every homeowner in the neighborhood. Now, folks, I didn't send it to 5,000 people. I picked 100 people in the neighborhood, and I made sure that that 100 people, from the entire time I listed the home to when it closed, got a ton of information from me. There's no way that they don't see that I listed the home. So the open rate's 4%, as I told you before, and if I sent 3 cards, I just took it from 4% to 12%. So I sent 3 cards out saying I just listed it. Then I went and got my phone list and I called the neighborhood. Hey, it's Chris Bishop with Signature Real Estate Group. I just listed a home in your neighborhood, and I know that when one home lists, 2 more people are thinking of selling. Who do you know would like to move into your neighborhood? That's on my script. And so I made those phone calls and sent out those postcards. About 2 or 3 weeks into the listing, the seller decided that we needed to be more aggressive, and so we got them to reduce the price. Guess what I did? I sent out 3 more postcards, and I called the neighborhood again to let them know I reduced the price on the property. After all of that activity, I got an offer on the home. I was able to secure the offer and I put the home under contract. Guess what I did? I sent out 3 more postcards and I sent 3 more calls to the neighborhood to let them know, hey, I just put this home under market. I've got a lot of activity on it. Who do you know in the neighborhood that's thinking of selling would love to get these buyers in front of them? And then again, once the home sold, when they told me it wouldn't, that they wouldn't get any buyers from it, I sent 3 more just sold cards. 2 right away and 1 30 days later. And I called everyone in the neighborhood and I let them know. And for that agent who called me to ask me if I was the market expert, I sent them another 7 cards just to make sure they got it. Funny enough, within about 3 weeks of this all happening, a seller called me up on the phone and said, hey Chris, are you the market expert? Why, yes sir, I am. We'd love you to come over and list our home. It really works because I created all of this momentum around my listing. And guess what happened when I got the new listing? I did it all again. That is a way to meet people in the neighborhood. That is a way to add contacts to my database. And that's a way to build my business to a new tier by allowing me to meet all of those new people. So please, if you take nothing else from building your database, make sure that you're at least doing some business around your business. Next on my list is hunting. Every day in real estate that I'm here in the business, I must hunt for business, meaning I'm getting my spear, I'm going out and I'm going to throw it at a buyer seller, not a real spear, folks. I'm going to throw it to get some figurative business from them by picking these activities, by going out and holding a high impact open house, by cold calling the neighborhood. Hunting is an aggressive stance. It means I'm taking an aggressive action to go out into the marketplace and capture a buyer. When I'm out hunting and I meet people, let's say for sake of conversation, I meet 10 people today while holding my high impact open house. Those 10 people are screened. I decide if they're worthy of my database and they go into my sphere of influence. And I work them for 6 to 8 months until one of 2 things happens. They say, Chris, don't ever call me again. We're tired of hearing from you. Or, hey, Chris, yeah, we'd love to work with you if we have the need and it arises. Again, folks, that's a way for me to go out and find people aggressively that I'm going to meet through these activities to go into my database. The other side of that is farming. I love to farm for business. The reason why we farm is that if I take good analytics and I go into a market area and I say, wow, there are 100 homeowners that live in this market area, I'm going to work those 100 people and I'm going to stay in front of them not for the next 2 months, not for the next 6 months, not for the next year, but the next 2 years. It's a massive budgetary commitment on my level. But I know to get market share, I have to go into that neighborhood and I have to stay there and be in front of them consistently. And I really have to make sure that every time I get a listing in my farm, that I'm doing my business around business to make it consistent, that my market share increases. Let me give you some more examples of how farms work. You decide that you want to farm, let's say a few homes, so 100 homes to start off with. If you're going to be a farmer today and you've never been a farmer, you wouldn't go and do 10,000 acres, would you? You'd want to do 100 acres and understand the process. We can have as many farms as you can afford, but again, keep it manageable so that you don't overexert yourself and you don't run out of money. With that farm, I'm gonna look at a couple of things. Number one, I'm gonna pick an area that matches at least my minimum sales price in my business plan. Right now, the median average sales price in the marketplace is $345,000. I need to make sure that my farm is above that $345,000 and it has the ability to go higher. Because most of the time the builder will build 3 or 4 different models, but I just want to make sure that starting price, so that my numbers make sense, is above $345,000. Then I go in the neighborhood and I look at everyone who's listed a home, agent-wise, and everyone who's sold a home and under contract, and I want to see if there's any repetition. I want to see if Brandon Roberts has listed 3 homes and sold 3 homes. That means that he has an aggressive market share, and my dollars might be better served in the subdivision next to him instead of in his subdivision. If I don't see anyone that has a market share, it's open game. Then the other thing I want to look at is I want to see if there's 100 homes, how many turned over last year? I really want to make sure that it's in the 8-9% amount minimum, that 8 or 9 homes turned over, because that's enough product for me to get involved in. If it's not at least that, if it's only 1 home sold in the last 2 years, there's no reason to build market share in this neighborhood because no one wants to move. So I want to make sure that I'm putting my marketing dollars in the right place. And so now I get in that neighborhood and I want to make sure that I'm sending the mailers on a regular basis. I want to make sure that it's at least 1 or 2 a month. I want to make sure that I'm making my phone calls like we talked about. And I want to make sure that I'm door knocking. If I'm not there once a quarter at their door with information, these people aren't going to care about you. They're not going to want to know you because you didn't even come to the community. If they have a community event, if they have a park that's out there and they're having a community garage sale, I should be the one letting everyone know about it. I should be the one advertising it. I should be the one walking around to the garage sales, handing out my business cards. Because when people sell stuff at their garage sale, like we talked about before, they think about selling their home. Again, farming is an easy, stable way to build residual business. I go into this farm and I build a 20% market share. That's 2 homes a year at the tune of $10,000 a home in my income, and it only costs me $3,000 or $4,000 a year to host the farm. I've just made money. And if every year I'm increasing my market share and I get up to 20, 30, 40%, and people can't think about listing their home unless they call Chris, I've now conquered that farm. And so what do you do when you conquer a farm? You go out and conquest for a new one. And so I can keep doing it over and over and over until I have 4, 5, or 6 farms that are building residual business. Nice part is, if I have my SOI and I have my farms, I don't really have to work as hard as I used to because I have residual business. Does that make sense? So the whole idea is that I'm hunting every day, I'm farming every day, I'm doing business around my business, all to drive people back to my database. That is a consistent business that will outlast any real estate market. But now I know you're asking the question, what should my SOI look like? What things should I be concerned about? What things should I be cognizant of? So I've thought ahead. Let's talk about your SOI. If you're brand new to the real estate business, if you never have marketed an SOI, that's okay. Many agents haven't. Many agents have just been reacting to the marketplace instead of creating a marketplace. And so the best advice I can give you is what I'm about to show you right now. Now, I said before that you have to start somewhere, and everyone knows 50 people. I guarantee you know 50 people. But if I've been on your Facebook page lately, I could probably tell that you have 1,000 friends. Now, these aren't friends that are going to loan you money or bail you out of jail, but they're people that you're connected with, right? They're people that you have an acquaintance of. They're people that you went to school with. They're people that live in your neighborhood or go to your kid's school. That's okay. I need you to find 400 of them. I don't care where they come from. I don't care how you know them. I don't care where they live. Did you hear what I don't care where they live. They can be in any state, any country, any nation, but I need you to get to 400 as soon as possible. And here's why. Todd told you in the conversation that you had to make a minimum of so many contacts every single day to build the real estate income that you wrote down on your business plan. If I take 400 people, I know for sure that if I'm making phone calls on a monthly basis, if I'm sending them emails, if I'm sending them thank you notes, if I'm sending them mailers once a year, that I'm going to attract the 10% rule. And that 10% rule has been proven over and over and over again by every real estate coach in the business. That if I'm connecting with 400 people, 10% will give me an opportunity. And if I get 40 opportunities for the year and I screw up half of them, that's 20 transactions I generated from these 400 people. And so now you can understand, by taking this number, by going from the 50 to my 400 and doing all of these activities I said, to generate more and more and more and more people to my database, you could see how I could get more and more. Hey guys, Chris Bishop here, super excited to be with thousands of open that every time I get a listing in my farm, that I'm doing my business around any real estate market. That if I'm connecting with 400 people, 10% will give me an opportunity. And if I get 40 opportunities for the year and I screw up half of them, that's 20 transactions I generated from these 400 people. And so now you can understand by taking this number, by going from the 50 to my 400 and doing all of these activities I said to generate more and more and more and more people to my database, you could see how I could get more and more opportunities that would lead to me to work a little bit easier. And folks, this is how my business happens right now. Every year, because I work a base of people or I've worked that base of people in the past, they call me because of it. They pick up the phone and call me because they have a relationship that I've cultivated. And so while others are out holding open houses, I am able to stand by the phone and wait for it to ring because I have enough of them to make it happen. But I've had to hold thousands of open houses. I've had to door knock thousands of doors. I've had to make so many phone calls my fingers have bled. Not really, but I'm just putting the point out there that that's all it really takes to get that many opportunities. The way that I break them down is important as well because we only have so much time in a day. I can't chance for them not to feel special and not to be contacted. So if I take 400 and divide it by 20, and the reason I use 20 is because if you worked Monday through Friday, right? We're in real estate, Monday through Friday seems like a good time. Maybe it's Tuesday through Saturday, whatever works best for you. But if you worked 5 days a week and made 20 contacts every one of those days for 20 days in the month, 20 times 20 equals 400. All I'm asking you to do is to make 20 phone calls. If you came into the office this morning and on your calendar in your Google Outlook, or however you do it, Google Calendar or Outlook, you have 20 appointments to make special phone calls to people in your database, people in your SOI. You've met them through open houses. You've met them because they're past clients. You met them because they're friends and acquaintances. You met them because they're friends and relatives. But you have 20 appointments every day. Could you see how that could lead to 40 opportunities? If I called those 20 people and I talked to them about their needs and their family and how I can help them, not about me, but about them, goal number one. If I called then and I said, hey, listen, before I let you off the phone today, do you know of anyone else actively looking to buy or sell a property? That's goal number two. Goal number three is expansion. Goal number three is for me to continually expand my base, not from open houses or door knocking, not from mailers or cold calling, but from these people. And if I called up my sister and I said, hey, Kelly, it's Chris. Hey, listen, today I have a goal of adding one more person to my database, and I'm only bothering you once this month, but who do you know that I could add into my database and reach out to? Who do you know that you'd refer me to? I guarantee you, folks, if you pose the question in the right way, she's going to give me a person to call. And so that's how I grow my database. And then last but not least, the fourth thing I'm going to do is thank them. I'm going to thank them for putting up with me every single month. I'm going to thank them for answering the phone, and I'm going to set the expectation that it's going to happen again next month. That is a viable working database. Now, once I get to 400 people, once I'm doing my activities of hunting and farming, once I'm actually moving people into my database, now I have to actually cultivate my database. Now I have to actually decide, have you earned the right to be there? And so that's where things like raving fans come up. Brian Buffini is really famous of talking about your 100 raving fans. Shelly Panzarelli in her comment on Facebook the other day talked a lot about building a VIP list. A VIP list for clients that make them feel extremely special, that they're lucky to be in my database. And what she means by it is that you're going to spend money on them. You're going to actually make sure that when the holidays come, there's a holiday card from you, maybe it's a New Year's card from you and a gift. Imagine if you had to give 100 people a gift right now during the holidays. How much would that cost? If there was $100 a gift times 100, that's $10,000. How many of you are ready to invest $10,000 in 100 people? But think about it, folks. If I really did make 100 people feel that special, if I did all the things that we've talked about and I worked them for that business and I invested that money into them, would I get it paid back? The answer is yes, because we talked about the 10% rule. If I really went out and worked those 100 people and they generated 10 transactions at $10,000 a deal, that's $100,000. Would you be willing today to write me a check for $10,000 if I would give you 100 back? The answer is yes, right? You just hope that I give you the 100 before the check bounces. That's my answer usually. But the whole point is, yes, it does work when you do. Last but not least, we talked about the 3 tiers to your business plan. I mapped them out over here, but I think it's imperative. I don't care what your tiers are. You can pick any item you want, but here's what mine looked like. I had my hunting activity as high impact open houses. I loved holding them because they were easy. All I had to do was pick the property. All I had to do was get the people there. I could do all my other things around it, but it was my hunting activity. Farming, I would usually farm 100 to 250 homes in every farm that I had, but it's imperative that you have some type of residual business. For other people I know out there, it's business networks. They have a church group that they farm. They have their kids' PTA. They have their kids' school. Maybe it's the Chamber of Commerce that you sit on as a member of. Folks, I've even farmed the Board of Realtors. The realtors here in Nevada that I've served with have sent me deals and referrals because I've cared about them. I've farmed realtors outside of the country. I don't care which farm you utilize. Get some farms and add them to your business, 1 or 2 to start, and then it can be as big as you want it to be after that. And then last but not least, the #1 fail of every agent out there is they have a great listing that they sell, and they don't take advantage of it. They don't tell anyone about it. Make sure that you're doing your business around business to give you the value that you've invested in. There's nothing more powerful than the neighborhood hearing that you actually did a great job, that you got the home sold, because when you sell a home higher than comps, when you sell a home and net that seller money, that's a positive thing for everyone that lives in the neighborhood. When that home sold for $500,000 and now all the other homes had sold for $460,000, you just put $40,000 into every homeowner in the neighborhood. Go and tell them. The whole point is business around business works when you do, so make sure that you're reaching out there to do it. What I've told you today is a lot of information, and if you look at the 3 tiers, the 3 videos that Brandon, Todd, and I have done, we gave you the reason behind why you're doing what you're doing. We gave you the numbers you need to hit your income goal, and folks, we've given you the roadmap to get there. If you have any questions on it, I'm here for you. Brandon's here for you. Todd, any of the managers. We'd love to support you in building your business. And if you really need some one-on-one help with it, get into coaching. I've had a coach every day that I've had my real estate business because it's important for me to grow. It's important for me every single year to add to my business, and having someone's outside perspective is a great way to do that. And we have some great coaches here at Signature that would love to help you. And last but not least, folks, if you know an agent out in the marketplace that needs this information, that they need someone to business plan them, call me. I will be happy to sit down with any real estate agent in Southern Nevada to help them get a business worth having. Folks, I hope you have an enjoyable, happy, and healthy new year. We're here for you. Thank you very much.